A round of applause to the bag holders. We got to give it to them. We got to give it to them, because if you're still holding thus far, you have more tolerance than me, and credit is due. What's going on, guys? It's Ricky with Techbud Solutions. Moments before Bitcoin drops below 70,000, I wanted to catch it here very quickly. We're at 71,400. It looks like it's continuously showing signs of lower lows and lower highs. I don't think it's going to be much of a surprise that literally the day before, or maybe the day of, MSTR is set to report earnings that we're going to break 70. My big question is, do you think that we can gap down from 70 into the 60s, like low 60s or possibly even the high 50s? That would, I just think, be the icing on the cake. Now, I want to remind you, right, as Bitcoin is falling, if you want to buy, feel free to buy. I'm not in support of Bitcoin. I never have been, never will be. It's not my thing. It's not my type of speculative asset, but I believe in your right to buy it and buy as much of it as you possibly want, right? I'm not here to discourage you from buying it. I'm just here to remind you that maybe using leverage or money that you really cannot lose is probably not the best idea, especially when it comes down to a speculative asset that is on an aggressive downturn. The thing that I do want to quickly highlight is overall markets saw a retracement today, 1.75% for the NASDAQ. If we look at this on the 30-minute time frame, most of it happened pretty early on, and then the rest were a bunch of retests. And then during the extended hours, we began to sell off once again. So again, we are seeing some negative selling pressure, some pullback, but markets as a whole, when you look at NASDAQ, they're still incredibly bullish, and a pullback does not define a market reversal. BTC, this is not a pullback. If you look at it on the day chart, it's a 45% retracement. So it's lost nearly half of its value. Normally, to my understanding, if you look at every bear market that Bitcoin has entered, it normally loses 70 to 85% of its value. And if you think that's the future of our currency, if you think it's realistic that the average person that has less than $1,000 in their account can fluctuate and tolerate a 50 to 80% change in price, I just want to tell you, sure, believe that, right? I like how they always try to leverage and try to pinpoint the value of Bitcoin, be like, oh, look, Bitcoin, goes up in value. Sure, right, for these periods of time. But then now the past 3 to 4 months, it's lost 40% of its value. And, people that got paid last month, do you think they want to lose 20 to 30%? That's just not sustainable, right? It never will be if it has this kind of volatility. And I think that's where a lot of the uncertainty is presenting itself. So there are a few things that I wanted to highlight. So just in, Bhutan is actively selling off its Bitcoin holdings, with sovereign outflows reaching about 22.4 million. Only El Salvador and Bhutan are the two countries who have directly bought Bitcoin as a sovereign policy. Both now sold or distanced themselves. That was quick, is what they're trying to state. And then it shows specific transfers or sales of their actual Bitcoin. The part that I find to be pretty interesting right now is I think this is where a lot of the uncertainty is coming from. Aside from MSTR reporting earnings tomorrow, Binance is suing people that are saying their exchange is insolvent. That means they are 100% insolvent. This is coming from someone named Jacob King on X.com. FTX did the exact same thing before they went bust. And on top of that, a big conspiracy that's going around is that supposedly Jeffrey Epstein is the founder or the Satoshi of Bitcoin. That would be the nail in the coffin. I don't think overall markets can tolerate the outflow that would happen with Bitcoin and all of crypto if this were to be the case. But nonetheless, let's talk about actual valuable companies. Google killed it with earnings today. Google reported better than expected revenue, earnings per share, everything from its cloud-based server with what they reported versus what was expected. Even their guidance of their CapEx guidance, 180 billion versus 120 billion, meaning that they're really aggressively investing into all of this, right? The revenue is growing quarter after quarter. Again, when we pulled it up a little bit earlier today and we looked at the Investing Pro overview, It's just such a well-ran business. $124 billion in net income is what it makes, and $385 billion in revenue annually. This is a company that sits at a current market cap. Let me pull it up here. $4 trillion before the market closed. Obviously, and unfortunately, now it sold off. It sold off a little bit when it reported earnings, and it quickly gapped up, and then it sold off again. I'm not surprised by that if you've been paying attention to how a lot of these big tech companies have been reporting earnings, especially the Mag 7 stocks. They've been selling off, and they've all been really beating earnings. So, was Google incredibly cheap prior to earnings? When you look at the day chart, no. And that's what I explained in today's live stream for the handful of people that tuned on in. Thank you for watching. But I highlighted it and I made it very simple to understand. I own Google. It's one of my holdings on my long-term account. My daughter owns it and my lady owns it. We own Google at $100 to $150 per share. I have no intention of buying Google at $300. I love Google, and if Google sells off enough, I would love to buy more, but I'm a deal hunter. Just like I'm sure a lot of people that maybe invest in Bitcoin, if you want to call it that, would never buy at 126 because they know long-term, it's not sustainable. If you over leverage yourself at overbought levels and a downturn happens, you're going to be experiencing what Michael Saylor is experiencing, right? And that means that now your overall position goes red because your average purchase price is so top heavy on all the purchases that you made. I think the great thing about investing is having conviction, but also not being stupid with your buys, right? Because we all know that these things come in waves, that there's nice upswings, but obviously there's uncertain times and downturns happen. And that's where you can sit cash heavy, wait in the sidelines, and then put that cash to work once actual deals present themselves. Like maybe all those that have stayed super patient in buying Bitcoin. Again, I do not like Bitcoin, but I think it makes a lot more sense to be buying now than it does to be buying at 126. But now there's fear in the market, so it's a little bit harder to tolerate. But again, I think this is where it really comes to mind. I mean, I think Bitcoin's still going to continue to sell off. I think that Bitcoin can go to lows of sub 50,000, but that's just my opinion, and who cares about that, right? Nonetheless, I think it makes more sense to buy when there's blood in the market or blood in the streets than when things are pushing to all-time highs. Risk to reward wise. If you truly do believe in this speculative asset and you think that it is the future and it's going to make new highs, why would you ever buy when the risk to reward ratios are just so against you? You buying at 120 for what? You thought it was going to go to 130, 140? Cool. You're going to make if that, 10%. And the downside risk is 30 to 80%. It's like, it just doesn't make sense risk to reward ratio wise when you actually break it down. But I don't think crypto bros do that, right? They just use unregulated platforms. They over leverage themselves and they buy because they got FOMO. And that's obviously what happened for a handful of them. And it looks like they paid the price. So tomorrow, again, Amazon after the market closes, Irene and Strategy. That's the big one that I'm looking out for. MSTR is still actively selling off. We have a handful of our LPP traders that are still actively shorting MSTR. Remember, we've been calling out MSTR since it peaked at $500. This is back in 2024. You can watch those videos. They're still public. We've been calling it a bullshit company since then. Why? How could I predict the future? I can't. I'm just like you guys, right? But I can read a balance sheet. And we can all learn how to do that. You don't have to be able to predict the future. You just have to take some time, ignore the noise, and actually pay attention to what this company does. And it's a failing business. It's a company that the software business itself, loses $500 million a year. And you're telling me that you wanted to invest in this Bitcoin treasury when you can just buy Bitcoin itself? All this company does is dilute investors. They create shares out of thin air, they dilute you, and then borrow against you. Why would you ever want to be a part of this? Now again, 75% later, from highs of 543 to now lows of 129, 76% downturn. So again, it's like, if all you did was you took time to actually look into their financials, not just perform a technical analysis, but if you're actually looking into investing into something, then maybe it doesn't hurt to look into the company, right? I'm all for a quick little day trade. Yeah, maybe I don't really need to look into their financials to understand the company as a whole. but at least to get a general understanding if you're going to have some skin in the game for a swing trade or a long-term play, it's hard to feel sorry for you when it was all laid out for you. Like, this company literally depends on people buying their stock or their preferred stock that they pay interest on, but then they need to sell their other stock to then pay you that interest because Bitcoin doesn't make money. They're not selling their Bitcoin. And this isn't sustainable during a downturn. So now they have to sit cash heavy to be able to pay their financial obligations. It's just an absolute poop show. And tomorrow, supposedly, MSTR is set to report Q4 earnings for 2025, and they're expected to report a $17 billion unrealized loss through a new accounting rule that they adopted last year, where they're able to report unrealized gains or losses on a quarterly basis. So when you look at MSTR's financials, it shows that they're, making like $5 or $9 billion a year or per quarter. That's not true. They don't make any money. That's unrealized gains. So tomorrow when it updates, it's going to show, I think, a $17 billion loss. And technically, that's just based off of their most recent Q4 2025 filing. So again, very excited to see the market react. So if you want to tune on in, I trade live every morning with my LPP team. I get it because of the way that I speak, and I can be very critical. Some people take it the wrong way, and I think that's good, right? Because you care, and you might get triggered because you feel like I'm calling you out, but I'm always here to challenge it. You have to remind yourself, like, what's the gain that I have in calling something overbought or overvalued? This isn't crypto. I can't move any of these stocks. And a majority of the time, I don't have open positions that I carry overnight. I'm truly just trying to shed light on the downside risk because beginners often only think about the upside potential, and that's often what they're sold. So again, if you're someone that wants to focus more on ratios and actually understanding the downside risk before you take advantage of a trade or an investment, that's what we do here. So again, second link in the description down below. I'd love to see you there. Like always, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note. Take care, team.